Welcome to Archive Vault, where we explore declassified records, hidden histories, and state-level investigations. Please note, some illustrative narration is AI-generated for storytelling purposes. All content is educational and documentary-based. The story begins not in a library, but in the shadow of history itself. For over 6 centuries, a small book has traveled through time, leaving behind nothing but mystery. Bound in vellum and meticulously handwritten in an unknown script, this book contains a universe of imagery and symbols. A universe that seems entirely alien, yet undeniably human. This is the Voynich Manuscript, an artifact that has fascinated scholars, alchemists, and codebreakers alike, and continues to defy every attempt at translation. The manuscript consists of approximately 240 pages. Each page is carefully constructed, with ink that has survived the centuries, and illustrations that are vivid and precise. Its language, now called Voynich Code, is written in flowing characters that resemble words, yet they do not match any known European or global script. Linguists and cryptographers alike have struggled for decades to make sense of it. Some have suggested it could be a ciphered text, hiding information behind an unknown code. Others have hypothesized it could be a constructed language, a private invention by its original creator. There are even skeptics who argue it might be an elaborate medieval hoax. Yet statistical analyses show non-random patterns that suggest intentionality, meaning in some sense the manuscript does communicate something, even if we cannot yet understand what. Radiocarbon dating places the manuscript's creation between 1404 and 1438, situating it firmly in the early Renaissance. This was a time of extraordinary intellectual curiosity in Europe, when the boundaries of science, medicine, astrology, and art were expanding rapidly. Stylistic evidence, particularly in the drawings of plants and costumes, points toward an origin in northern Italy or Central Europe. Yet despite this context, the manuscript's purpose remains opaque. Its pages are divided into sections, each with a different theme, yet all unified by a precision and coherence that suggests a single mind guided its creation. The manuscript opens with botanical illustrations, over 100 drawings of plants, most of which do not correspond to any known species. Some scholars suggest these may be hybrids or symbolic representations, blending observation with imagination. Each plant is accompanied by blocks of Voynich Code text, potentially describing its properties or uses. But what those words mean, no one knows. Following the botanical section, the manuscript presents astronomical and astrological diagrams. Stars, moons, suns, and zodiac symbols fill circular charts that suggest a connection to celestial events, perhaps for timing medical or agricultural practices. Next comes the biological section, with small naked figures, mostly female, immersed in interconnected pools and tubes. Some historians speculate these could relate to health rituals, bathing practices, or alchemical symbolism. The manuscript also contains pages resembling recipes, showing jars, roots, and seemingly medicinal paraphernalia. Yet again, the accompanying text is unreadable. Its first modern encounter came through Georg Barisch, a 17th century alchemist in Prague, who, baffled by the manuscript, sent it to the Jesuit scholar Athanasius Kircher in Rome, hoping for insight. Kircher, a man obsessed with deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphs and mystical languages, failed to unlock its secrets. For centuries, the manuscript changed hands quietly until Wilfrid Voynich, in 1912, recognized its importance and introduced it to a wider audience. He published articles and held exhibitions, claiming it might be a lost work of Roger Bacon, though this attribution is now generally discredited. Despite its fame, the Voynich manuscript has resisted every effort to translate it. Some of the 20th century's finest cryptographers, including William and Elizabeth Friedman, dedicated years to deciphering it without success. In the 21st century, scholars have applied computational linguistics, artificial intelligence, and statistical analysis, confirming that Voynich exhibits patterns remarkably similar to human language, yet still without revealing any coherent meaning. Perhaps the greatest mystery of all is not what the manuscript says, but why it exists at all. Why devote centuries of effort to a text no one can read? Why create images that are so detailed and precise, and yet so fantastical? Each page seems to hold a secret, each drawing a key, but the lock remains unbroken. It is this tension between intention and incomprehensibility that has captured the imagination of generations. The Voynich Manuscript is, at once, a product of its time and a timeless enigma. It reminds us that knowledge is not always accessible, and that even the most meticulous work may vanish into mystery. Some mysteries begin with a clue. Others begin with the silence between clues. The Voynich Manuscript, baffling text, strange illustrations, and undeciphered Voynich enters history not through its creation, but through the echoes of its ownership. Its trail is fragmented, punctuated by centuries of quiet, elusive until it re-emerges again and again in the hands of those drawn to its enigma. Radiocarbon dating has anchored the manuscript firmly in the early 15th century, roughly 1404 to 1438. Yet the earliest documented record of it lies nearly 2 centuries later. From the moment it becomes visible to history, its path weaves through royal courts, esoteric scholars, and secretive collections. The first known owner whose name survives in the historical record was Georg Barrisch, a 17th century alchemist living in Prague. Barrisch was perplexed by the manuscript, calling it a sphinx that defied understanding, and he reached out not through scholars of plants or stars, but to one of the era's most celebrated decipherers. Athanasius Kircher, a Jesuit polymath based in Rome, whose works on hieroglyphs had captivated Europe. Barrisch sent transcripts of Voynich to Kircher twice, hoping the Roman savant might unlock its secrets. Kircher, confident in his ability to decode ancient scripts, apparently failed, or at least did not reply with a solution. The letters themselves survive as some of the earliest documented evidence of the codex's existence in intellectual circles, and they serve as the first cracks in the manuscript's veil of anonymity. Upon Barrisch's death, the manuscript passed to his friend Johannes Marcus Marci, rector of the university in Prague. Marci, too, was drawn into the mystery, and in the mid-1660s he did what Barrisch himself had hesitated to do. He sent the original manuscript to Kircher in Rome. Alongside it, Marci enclosed a letter recounting the book's known history and urging Kircher to make sense of it. This cover letter, discovered centuries later tucked inside the volume, is a rare Rosetta-like keystone, a fragment of the tale that connects the codex to human hands and motivations. Circa 1600, before Barrisch's involvement, the manuscript had already surfaced in the royal collections of Emperor Rudolf II of the Holy Roman Empire. According to the Marci letter, Rudolf believed he had acquired a work of extraordinary value, even attributing it to the English philosopher Roger Bacon and paying what would have been a huge sum at the time. While there is no direct evidence in the imperial archives to confirm this purchase, the story itself shows how enticing and extraordinary the book's reputation had become by the early modern period. After the Prague Circle, the manuscript's trail enters the vast holdings of the Jesuit order. Kircher, intrigued though unsuccessful, kept it among his library at the Collegio Romano, a repository of rare and curious manuscripts. For over 2 centuries, the Voynich manuscript lay in obscurity within this collection, its pages untranscribed and its secrets undiscussed in wider scholarly circles. A slumbering artifact waiting to be rediscovered. That rediscovery came in 1912 when Wilfrid Michael Voynich, a Polish-born antiquarian bookseller with a keen eye for rare materials, acquired the codex from the Jesuit library at Villa Mondragone near Rome. Voynich carefully extracted the mysterious manuscript from a larger cache of Jesuit holdings, a trove made available as the order's properties were reorganized in the late 19th century. It was this moment that brought the Voynich Manuscript into the modern world of scholarship and speculation. Voynich, an astute dealer and promoter, immediately recognized the manuscript's potential as both a historical object and a commercial curiosity. He organized exhibitions, published articles, and invited scholars to study it, cultivating a growing aura of mystery that would cement the book's fame. Though his claim that it might be a lost work of Roger Bacon was not widely accepted, Voynich's efforts ensured the manuscript would not return to obscurity. When Voynich died in 1930, the manuscript passed to his wife, Ethel Voynich, a novelist and artist in her own right. After her death, the manuscript was sold to rare book dealer Hans P. Krauss, who in turn donated it in 1969 to the Bonecca Rare Book and Manuscript Library at Yale University, where it remains cataloged as MS-408. Since then, scholars have connected its pages to exhibitions, facsimile editions, and, in the digital age, high-resolution online access for the first time. From Prague alchemists to Roman scholars, from secret libraries to public display, a pattern emerges. The Voynich manuscript never belonged to the indifferent. It passed only through hands that sensed something powerful. Each owner added a chapter to its human story, yet the book's own purpose remained just as opaque as the day it was penned. To understand the Voynich manuscript is to confront the limits of comprehension itself. Its journey through time, through hands that sought to unlock it, brings us to the pages themselves. A world at once familiar and alien, structured yet enigmatic, brimming with visual information that resists verbal translation. The manuscript's illustrations are often the only bridge to meaning, the only clues that the eye can grasp when the mind cannot read the text. Scholars divide its contents into thematic sections, although every page remains a riddle. The largest portion is the botanical section. Over 100 drawings depict plants that are unidentifiable, twisting into forms that do not match any known species. Some have roots like tangled ropes, leaves that curl impossibly, flowers that bloom in fantastical configurations. It is clear that the illustrator had skill and intention. The plants are drawn with precision, yet they may not exist anywhere in the natural world. Some researchers speculate these are symbolic, a blend of observation, imagination, and perhaps medicinal or alchemical knowledge. Each image is accompanied by lines of Voynichese text, meticulously arranged. While these blocks of writing appear structured, attempts to decipher them have produced nothing more than statistical patterns, language-like sequences that defy interpretation. Next comes the astronomical and astrological section. Here, circular charts depict suns, moons, stars, and zodiacal figures. Some pages suggest calendars or planetary cycles, hinting at the manuscript's possible use in guiding agricultural, medicinal, or ritualistic timing. Tiny human figures, sometimes naked, interact with these celestial charts in ways that remain mysterious. The alignment of symbols and diagrams suggests knowledge of medieval astrology, but the full purpose remains hidden. The biological or balneological section follows. Its pages show groups of naked female figures immersed in interconnected pools, often linked by elaborate piping systems. These illustrations appear ritualistic, perhaps relating to bathing, health, or alchemical purification. Scholars have debated whether these images depict real therapeutic practices or are allegorical, representing the flow of vital fluids or cosmic energies. Again, the accompanying text offers no answers. Then there is the pharmaceutical section, featuring jars, roots, and what appear to be medicinal preparations. Some pages resemble recipe lists, yet without translation, we cannot know if these are actual remedies, symbolic representations, or entirely fictional creations. Scholars have noted that the illustrations share elements with European herbals of the period, but the plants themselves remain unrecognizable. Finally, the cosmological and miscellaneous diagrams fill the remaining pages. These complex arrangements of circular motifs, stars, and interconnected nodes suggest a system of knowledge that is abstract and possibly encoded. Some scholars have posited that these diagrams could reflect secret alchemical knowledge, esoteric cosmology, or even encoded maps of the human body or natural world. Each page is a universe unto itself, precise in execution, yet impossible to interpret with certainty. What emerges is a paradox. The images are coherent, carefully drawn, and consistent. The text, however, does not yield meaning. Statistical analysis shows patterns in word length and character frequency akin to natural language, yet no dictionary, grammar, or cipher key has ever been verified. This has led some researchers to propose that the manuscript is a constructed language, designed to look and function like a real script. Others argue that it is an elaborate hoax, yet one executed with such care that it fools every tool we have for linguistic analysis. The Voynich Manuscript is therefore both atlas and cipher, a compendium of a world we can see but cannot read. Its plants, pools, stars, and jars speak to us visually, yet their significance remains locked behind a code we have yet to unravel. For 6 centuries, scholars have approached it like explorers confronting an uncharted continent. They can map the rivers, mountains, and coasts, but the language of the people remains unknown. This is the tension that defines the manuscript's power. Structure without clarity, beauty without comprehension, knowledge without access. Every page, every line, every image is a window into an intellect, or perhaps a culture, that is lost to us, yet preserved with meticulous care. The search for a key, cryptographers, codebreakers, and controversies. The Voynich Manuscript is not merely a book. It is a challenge to every mind that dares to decipher it. For centuries, it has teased scholars, mathematicians, and codebreakers alike. Its pages, dense with Voynich's glyphs and cryptic illustrations, have inspired some of the most brilliant efforts in the history of cryptography. Yet it remains an unsolved puzzle, a testament to human curiosity and the limits of our understanding. In the early 20th century, the manuscript first captured the attention of professional cryptographers. Wilfred Voynich, recognizing both its historical significance and its tantalizing enigma, sought the advice of experts in code breaking. Yet even the greatest linguistic minds of his day could not penetrate its language. Attempts to match Voynich's with known ciphers, substitution codes, monoalphabetic encryptions, or even polyalphabetic systems failed. The text exhibited patterns that seemed intentionally structured, yet no method revealed a comprehensible message. World War II intensified the search. The United States Army and British intelligence agencies, obsessed with code breaking, turned to the manuscript as an intellectual challenge. Among those who studied it were William and Elizabeth Friedman, a husband and wife team regarded as some of the 20th century's most accomplished cryptographers. They applied every technique at their disposal: frequency analysis, pattern recognition, linguistic comparisons. But their results were inconclusive. They reported only that Voynich appeared to have linguistic properties. It was non-random, obeyed internal rules, and contained repetition and structure similar to natural languages. Yet no translation, no cipher key, and no coherent semantic reading emerged. Modern efforts have been no less exhaustive. In recent decades, computational linguistics and AI have offered new approaches. Researchers have analyzed letter frequencies, word distributions, and statistical patterns. Some studies suggest that the text could be a constructed language or a highly sophisticated cipher designed to mimic the appearance of human writing. Other studies propose that it might be a vocalization tool for teaching or meditation, or an encoded record of scientific observations long since lost. Yet as of today, none of these efforts have definitively cracked the code. The cryptographic debate is compounded by the manuscript's illustrations. Its plants, celestial charts, and pools of bathing figures suggest an intent. perhaps a compendium of herbal remedies, astrological guidance, or alchemical knowledge. Some scholars propose that the botanical section could encode medicinal properties, the astrological section could guide agricultural or health practices, and the bathing figures could represent humoral or alchemical processes. Each hypothesis carries weight, yet all remain speculative. The illustrations provide context but never a key. Among the more controversial theories is the suggestion that the manuscript is an elaborate hoax, a deliberate construction with no underlying meaning. Critics point to the absence of any direct correspondence between the text and known languages, and the fantastical nature of many illustrations. Yet statistical analysis argues against pure randomness. The text exhibits linguistic patterns consistent with natural languages, including word repetition and entropy measures. If it is a hoax, it is a hoax of extraordinary sophistication, crafted with deep knowledge of language and medieval manuscript production. Some modern theorists have tried to link the manuscript to historical figures or esoteric groups. Names such as Roger Bacon, John Dee, and the Rudolph II court frequently appear in speculation. While the evidence for these connections is circumstantial, they underscore the manuscript's allure. People have long associated it with hidden knowledge, secret societies, and the promise of revelation. Even with advanced technology, the manuscript continues to evade complete understanding. AI can generate Voynich-like text, replicate the structure, and even predict character sequences statistically, yet it cannot decode the original content. Cryptographers, computational linguists, and historians are unanimous in this. The manuscript is coherent in appearance, but its meaning remains locked. Each page is a challenge, each paragraph an unanswered question. The search for a key has become a journey through human ingenuity as much as historical curiosity. Every failed attempt is a testament to the manuscript's sophistication and to the limits of our interpretive frameworks. From alchemists and Jesuit scholars to military codebreakers and modern AI researchers, the Voynich Manuscript has tested every method, every tool, and every theory, yet it continues to guard its secrets. After 6 centuries of mystery, after alchemists, scholars, and codebreakers have pored over its pages, the Voynich Manuscript remains a book that refuses to be read. Its text is undeciphered, its plants unknown, its diagrams enigmatic. And yet it is far from meaningless. In fact, the manuscript is a mirror, reflecting the limits of knowledge, the allure of the unknown, and the human desire to uncover hidden truths. Some scholars see it as a scientific or medicinal compendium lost to time. The meticulous botanical drawings, the jars and roots, and the astronomical charts suggest an intent to record and organize knowledge. Perhaps it was a herbal guide or an astrological calendar designed to guide health and agriculture. The coherence and structure suggest intelligence and purpose, even if that purpose is now obscured. Others believe it is a ciphered work, a text encoded by a sophisticated system now lost to history. Voynich Code exhibits properties of real language, patterns, repetition, and syntax-like structure, suggesting that a hidden meaning exists. It could be a message intended for a small circle of initiates, a repository of secret knowledge, or even an intellectual exercise in encoding information. Its secrecy may have been deliberate, a test of patience and perception. Yet there are those who see it as a medieval hoax, a creation designed to astonish and perplex. The strange plants, the impossible bathing figures, the unidentifiable symbols, all could have been crafted to simulate a meaningful text. If it is a hoax, it is one of extraordinary sophistication, convincing enough to fool generations of scholars and withstand centuries of scrutiny. In this interpretation, its value lies not in what it says, but in what it inspires: curiosity, wonder, and relentless inquiry. What the Voynich Manuscript ultimately represents may be less about its content and more about the act of interpretation itself. It challenges us to question the assumptions we bring to the past, to confront the boundaries of language, and to consider the fragility of knowledge. Its secrecy is a lesson in humility, that some truths may remain beyond our reach, and that the search itself can be as important as the discovery. The manuscript's allure lies in its balance of order and mystery. Its carefully drawn plans, geometric diagrams, and pools of figures indicate meticulous planning. Yet the absence of comprehension transforms the work into a puzzle, a bridge between imagination and analysis, between history and myth. It reminds us that knowledge is not merely information, but understanding. And understanding requires context that the past does not always provide. Even today, as digital imaging, statistical analysis, and AI algorithms examine every stroke, every glyph, every line of Voynich Code, the manuscript resists definitive answers. Its meaning may never be fully revealed, yet its influence endures, inspiring historians, cryptographers, linguists, and enthusiasts worldwide. It is a timeless enigma, a symbol of the limits of human understanding, and a reminder that some doors may never open, and yet the key lies in seeking them. In the end, the Voynich Manuscript is more than a book. It is a question cast across centuries, a question about language, about knowledge, about secrecy, and about the persistent human desire to know what cannot be known. And perhaps that is its greatest mystery, that a manuscript, undeciphered and untranslatable, continues to speak, not in words we understand, but in wonder, curiosity, and the enduring power of the unknown. Thank you for listening to Archive Vault Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive and found it insightful. Wishing you a great week ahead, and remember to subscribe so you don't miss our next episode. We'll be back soon with more stories from the archives. See you next time.